tremendous form tonight. There's Dave Newell, the referee, Pavlich, and Stickle, the linesman. We're going to have a look at the goalies in just a moment or two. And there we're going to see the name, Gerry Cheevers. He's in that left circle. He has a record of 2.57 in 10 playoff games. Ken Dryden, 13 games, 2.03. And what a big crowd here tonight. This is the biggest crowd of the playoffs, Dick and Chico, here in Montreal, that is.
The standing room was jammed, Danny, 5 minutes after they opened the doors at 7 o'clock.
And the fifth game is underway. The Canadiens with Nyrop clearing it ahead to the line. The point is knocked down by O'Reilly. Houle coming in. It's kept in. Here's Gainey going to the corner. Jarvis takes a look. He tries to center it. He's tied up. Here's O'Reilly, and he was bumped by Resch. Down the ice it goes, and there's been a fair amount of solid hitting in the early seconds of this fifth game. The point for Montreal coming out over the line. He cleared it into the center ice area, gobbled up by Milbury. He gives it to McNab. He's shoved into the boards by Lapointe. Here's Gainey around the net. To the other side of Resch, and he was hit by Milbury. Here's Gainey, wants Jarvis, and he couldn't pick it up. Now the Boston Bruins speed up on the right side. O'Reilly falls against Nyrop. McNab is knocked down by Gainey, and they're tossing their weight around as if it's going to be a long, body-belting night here tonight.
Now, Chico, there's only been a day between games, but the boys look rested. The legs are there as we look at Scotty Bowman and Don Cherry.
Boy, do they ever. And the hitting, and the nice thing to see about the hitting, it hasn't slowed down the puck carrying, the swift skating. Even though the boys have been hitting tough, everybody's still skating well, and really both teams are flying. Montreal we expect to come out flying, but it looks like Boston wants to play wide open tonight as well.
And now we're having Scotty Bowman making a change, and Newell, the referee, he says that's all right. Face off to the left of Dryden. We have Shepard on with Slots and Marcotte for Boston. Montreal Canadiens with the line of Mondeau, Cournoyer, and Lambert. Robinson, a good move on the left side. Robinson gets it into Mondeau. He puts on the brakes. He whips it into the corner, and Cheevers cleared it, not out. Mondeau feeding it back in. That's Rick Smith slapping it on the boards, and it comes into the center ice area. No score in this hockey game, and here's Robinson feeding it ahead, and it's picked off at the line by Smith. Ahead it goes to Shepard over the line. Here is Smuts. Smuts forced back to the line. He cleared it in there. Now it's Savard twisting and turning against Shepard. In behind the net is Smuts. Smuts takes a look. Lambert clearing it. Boston on it. Here's Smuts over to Shepard. And his shot was on a sharp angle at the side of the net. Canadiens clearing it down. Cheevers, who has been an outstanding performer in this series, he shoots it down the ice. Gainey is back after it. It's icing against Boston.
From the Forum in Montreal, this is Stanley Cup 78.
Face off in Boston territory. Lemaire centering against Ratelle. The Bruins get the draw. Marcotte on the right side to Middleton with Ratelle. It takes the pass into the line. The shot. Not too hard, but Dryden had to watch it rather carefully. Now Milbury stealing it up. Knocked into the boards by Lafleur. Mark at the line. Backtracks into the center ice area. Gives it to Milbury. The Middleton in ahead to Ratelle. And let's see a couple of penalties coming up here. And these are the first infractions to be assessed in this hockey game, Milbury and Lemaire.
Lafleur started that, I think, but this Joel at Mike Milbury, things got a little rough, but somehow, and I did not see it, I don't know if you did, Chico, it was removed from where the puck was. Lemaire and Milbury became involved, so Lafleur stays on the ice. Lemaire leaves, and so does the Boston defenseman, so the teams will play 5 aside after 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Chico, I understand there have been a lot of broken ankles found around different spots in Canada as a result of people jumping off the Canadiens bandwagon.
Yes, especially here in Montreal.
Does it surprise you it's 2-2 this series?
Very much so, yeah. I would say so.
Okay, here's Middleton getting it to Ratelle, and he tipped it wide. Cheevers for Montreal. Gainey is out over the line into the center ice area. There's Nairop for Montreal. He pumped it on the far side to Gainey. Gainey putting on the brakes. There's a pass. Off a stick. Middleton is coming down. Dryden away over the net. And Dryden is still in the center ice area. They try to freeze the puck. Here's Middleton. There's a shot, and it's wide. Guy Lapointe, the goalie. First time I've seen that in the playoffs in a quarter of a century. Here come the Boston Bruins. Middleton, in it goes! And Dryden holds on. How about that for excitement?
Well, usually the goalie holds on to the puck to give his defenseman or his forwards a rest, but in that instance, Kenny is the one who needed the rest. Here we see it. He's way out at the blue line. He makes a good poke check, and then you see the puck will come to him, and people may wonder, well, why didn't he tie it up? If he would have caused a whistle there, it would have been a penalty, so he had to let it go, and here you see him just streaking back, and Guy Lapointe's in the net, and like I say, I've never seen anything like that. That was wild.
Well, Danny, I was going to say I've never seen Ken Dryden go out that far. You say you've never seen him in the playoffs in 25 years. Going to talk about Gerry Smith now, the night he carried the puck to center ice?
That was during the regular season.
That's right, for Toronto.
He did it from the south end. This is from the north end, as if it makes any difference whether you come from the north or the south. Now, back, Shepard getting it to Park over on the other side. Rick Smith winds up for the shot, and he fired it wide. Here's Shepard into the corner, bumped by Resch. Savard starting away on the right side at center. He cleared it into Boston territory, and then the Canadiens decide to make changes. And that puck went down the ice, and it's called for icing. And the changes with Lafleur now at the gate. Jarvis had stepped off. And the shots on goal, Boston with the only two. There's a fellow, Chico, I refer not to Ratelle, but to Brad Park, whom we saw a moment ago. He has been absolutely outstanding.
Oh, he's been the leader out there, and if I had a vote for the most valuable player up to this point, it would definitely have to be Brad Park.
Not Cheevers? Now, remember, you're a goaltender.
Well, that's true. It could go either way. It's just that Brad has done so much. Of course, so has Gerry, and, you know, that really put me on the spot. I guess what'll obviously take place is whoever plays the best from here on in.
Well, I'll take you off the spot. You look very well. You enjoyed your stay in Boston. No doubt you consumed a substantial amount of seafood. Did you?
We had a couple great dinners there, and just overall it was very enjoyable.
There's Scotty Bowman. Right now, he's thinking about this big hockey game. Face off to the right of Dryden. They're playing five aside, high into the air, and a stick makes contact, and that's whistled down. The penalties to Milbury of Boston and Lemaire of Montreal. 54 seconds remaining. And to Jarvis and Gainey, generally mild-mannered Montrealers, doing some arguing. And there's Jarvis talking to Stickle. The Bruins, everybody up. There's no score in this first period. Now it goes back to the line. Brad Park on the line. It goes to Rick Smith. Into the corner, Gainey of Montreal trying to shake off Shepard. Here's Gainey on the right side. Schmatz is after him. It goes ahead to Jarvis. Jarvis coming in. Gainey is trying to get in front. And Park was there. Oh! Park was belted behind the net by Gainey. After Park had pulled off that great play. Here's Robinson coming in, but there was an offside.
Penalties called, I think. Gainey was involved. We'll wait. Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum. Before tonight's game, we asked Bobby Schmatz of the Bruins if winning the two in Boston to tie it has given them renewed confidence, and here is his answer.
Bobby Schmatz.
I think after winning the two games in Boston and playing good here in the second game has definitely given us a little bit of confidence, but we know we got a tough battle coming up with the next 2 out of the 3 games being played in Montreal, but we'll start tonight and see what happens.
Well, as you listen to Bobby Schmatz, he was in the penalty box. Schmatz and Gainey have been sent off. 28 seconds remaining in the penalties to Milbury and Lemaire. Teams now playing 4 aside.
Face-off inside the Boston line. Shepard got it away from Lafleur, and there's Park being watched closely by Lafleur. Rick Smith heads out over the line. Now Smith decides to cut in on that right side, putting on the brakes. Over it goes. Shepard couldn't pick it up, and it's back out over the line to Brad Park. A half dozen seconds left in the penalties to Milbury and Lemaire. No score in the hockey game, and that is Shepard threading his way in there rather gently, but getting in too quickly was Smith.
Larry Robinson out on defense as the Canadiens and the Bruins now play 5-a-side as that offside call was made. Milbury and Lemaire left the penalty box. 1:31 remaining on the census to Gainey and Schmatz. I think I checked that Bob Gainey threw at Brad Park, Chico. That had to be one of the most solid hits of the series.
Face off, and that area, when you get a look at it, after watching the players in the penalty box, the area outside the Canadiens line, it's drifted in by Milbury. There's no score in this hockey game, and there's Lapointe trying to set up Lemaire at the Boston line. It's whipped out by Doak. Ratelle checked by Uhl. Savard to Resch into the center ice area, trying to get through there. He carries on to the corner, bumping on the boards. Milbury and Doak. Lapointe takes a quick shot, and it's blocked by Cheevers. That is the Canadiens' first shot on goal. Now it's back into Boston territory, and the Bruins have been no great shakes themselves offensively. They just have the 2 shots. And we're nearing the 6-minute mark in the opening period. There's Jonathan circling to the left, hands it off to Doak, a long floating shot. And Lapointe being watched by Jonathan. Lapointe is trying to get through the Boston rugged to forward. Now back it comes to Doak. Doak shooting it off the boards. The Bruins applying pressure here. Milbury goes into the corner, and Lapointe comes up with it for Montreal. Up ahead is Lemaire. He's out of the penalty box. The pass is intercepted by Jonathan, and he floats it back in there. That is the signal for the teams to make changes while the play goes on. You notice Dryden and Milbury got together down the corner. Now it's back in Boston territory. Park touching it, and it's icing against the Canadiens.
This is Stanley Cup 78 from the Forum in Montreal.
.59 left in the opening period. They're playing 5-a-side. But in 1 second, Schmatz and Gainey will be back on. Face off again in Montreal territory. The penalized player is back on. Now Nyrop swings it over to Robinson. Robinson's pass goes off a stick. It's Schmatz on it for Bruins, and he slides it into the corner. Now Boston with that pattern of forechecking. They move in, and the Canadiens with Gainey firing it off the boards. Here's Lafleur going in. Cheevers away out of the net. And we have nomadic goaltenders tonight. They're roaming all over the place. Here's Schmatz going in. Schmatz still with it. He had the big goal in the 4th game. Big McNab in there against Nyrop. Schmatz keeping it in there. Gainey falls over Schmatz, who then went down. Puck into the center ice area. Here's Brad Park. Over to McNab. A dribbling shot, and it goes wide. Here's Marcotte firing it from a sharp angle. Gainey clearing it down on the left side. Jarvis going down, and he's called on the offside. Jarvis and Rick Smith, they come to blows. And, Robinson went in there quickly. Gainey has a stranglehold of Marcotte, but I don't think a punch was thrown.
No, Larry Robinson maybe tried to give a little love tap there to just say back off a little bit to Rick Smith, but nothing much materialized. I think the Canadiens looked to Larry Robinson more than any other player to make his presence known. And if you notice, Larry just went streaking into the pile, and I think he feels he's going to have to become a little more active when there are skirmishes out there.
Well, we asked Larry Robinson before tonight's game if the 2 losses in Boston would force the Canadiens to change strategy. This was the answer.
I think because we lost the 2 games in Boston that there's really anything to change what it's turned out to be right now as a homer series, and you can't be looking at your defeats and expect that to help you or do anything to cause you to change your style. We just have to go out and play our game and win our games at home. That's what we've worked all year for.
Well, as you heard the voice of Larry Robinson very calmly talking about the Canadian strategy, when we looked at the live action, he was rather excitedly directing some comments to Rick Smith of the Bruins. But for some reason or other, Lafleur and Park have been penalized. I'd like to see that one again to figure that out.
To the Bruins, number 22, Brad Park. 2 minutes for high sticking, and to the Canadians, number 10, Guy Lafleur. 2 minutes for cross-checking at 7 minutes, 1 second.
7:01, and as Don Cherry looks on, the referee has called the 2 captains to the area just outside the circle in front of the penalty box, and he sort of lays down the law, I guess. Scotty Bowman. Yesterday, Scotty was playing some videotape of a game played in Boston on Sunday, showing members of the local media where he felt the Bruins should have been penalized but were not. Don Cherry made reference to that, of course, when he found out when the Bruins arrived last night. So that's typical playoff psychology.
Jake, we mentioned the huge crowd. We'll get back to it again. You have something else to do.
I have to tell everybody what the score. Boston nothing, Montreal nothing. This is Stanley Cup 78. Somebody threw something on the ice down in the area of the Boston goal, so that is the holdup. They have had to come out and clean up the debris.
Jake, getting back to the crowd about which we mentioned earlier, no doubt, I would think, and the statistics later will back it up, the biggest crowd of the playoffs, all the playoff games here. But the thing I found interesting about the crowd here tonight was the reception they gave the Montreal Canadiens when they came on the ice. It was a standing ovation, I would say, of perhaps 2 or 3 minutes. Going back all these long years that I've been here at the Forum, I can't recall another occasion when a Canadiens team received such a reception. And this is interesting because in recent years they've been blasé here. Now they're beginning to appreciate the hockey team because they have seen a great Boston team hand the Montreal Canadiens 2 defeats. And there's some who will tell you that Boston could have won that second game regulation time.
Well, the fans have been blasé, but they are also very demanding. Danny, you go through it, I go through it, and we're really just on the fringe. But, for example, I came home after the 3rd game in Boston, and for those 2 days, all I heard was, what happened? And really, there's a lot of pressure, Chico, Resch, when a team is expected to win all the time. There you see Pierre Bouchard not in uniform tonight up in the press box area. Brian Engblom with them as well. That is the only change for the Canadiens. Bouchard is out, and Pierre LaRouche is in the lineup, but he hasn't seen any action.
Now here's Middleton trying to jam it in front to Shepard. He was covered by Robinson. In is Gainey for Montreal. He goes to the other side with Savard. The pass is intercepted. Shepard over on the other wing. It goes to Middleton trying to get by Lemaire. And it's Savard for the Canadiens. To the left side for Gainey. And he collides with Ghost. 2 rugged individuals in that center ice area. And Gainey has been tossing his weight around tonight. Number 23, Montreal. There's no score in the hockey game. 1 minute and 22 seconds left in the penalties to Lafleur and Park. Here's Robinson dashing in. Robinson cutting in a goal.
Chico Resch, that's as fine an individual play as you'll ever see.
Another example of Larry Robinson in asserting himself at the right time. There he makes just a great move. Now remember, this is a defenseman as he breaks around the Boston defense, and he also has the control to get it up high because Gerry, who normally in past rushes as such like this, he would be rushing out at the player coming in. But here you'll see Gerry hanging back a little bit in the crease, and Larry, seeing that, is able to fire it up over his shoulder.
Boy, that's just a tremendous individual effort. The way he held off Milbury's check with the left leg as he cut around him was just a classic move. So the Canadiens, who had only 1 shot on goal up to that point, have the lead.
Here's Ratelle back to Spons. He shoots. And Dryden had to come up with a dazzling save. And the Bruins almost tied it up. In on the boards, they fight for it. In behind the net.
46 seconds.
LaPointe gets clear, but shoots it down the ice. This could be icing against Montreal. Back after goal Stokes. And Dick, the Bruins, almost tied it up on the first rush after the goal.
Well, Danny, despite the excitement over Larry Robinson's goal, as we look at it again, Boston has dominated this hockey game. The Canadiens have had only 2 shots. In fact, they've only directed 2 shots toward the Boston net. While the Bruins have had 7 on Ken Dryden, as Larry Robinson makes good on direction number 2. And there you see it. Boy, that is just a classic. And he is back out on the ice now, along with Serge Savard, as the teams play 5-a-side with 46 seconds left in the penalties to Lafleur and Park. But the Bruins have been taking the play to the Canadiens. Certainly have had by far the better scoring opportunities. The Canadiens cashed in on their best one.
Now the Bruins, everybody up. Back to O'Brien. There's a shot. It rolls into Dryden. That was one of these crazily bouncing type of shots that you had to watch very carefully. Don't you have to do that with that type of shot, Chico?
Well, it helps, but, you know,
If you don't-
a shot like that, you know, you don't have anything to gain because it looks like an easy shot, but very often those are the kind that go in. And we have somebody out on the ice there.
I don't know what that's all about.
Looks like a fan got a penalty. He's in the penalty box.
Now Robinson lugging in into the center ice area. He's at the Boston line. Big Robinson strides into the corner. He's bumped by O'Brien. Jarvis taken in on the corner boards by Rick Smith, and Ratelle has it. Ratelle trying to clear it out. He couldn't, and Rick Smith gets it to the right side to Schmott. Stopped by Robinson. And Robinson, an impressive figure for Montreal in the early stages of this hockey game. Now it's O'Brien into the center ice area with the blonde head up. He fires the shoulder-high shot into the corner. Savard takes a look. 1-0 Montreal leading in the first period. Robinson with the head fake. Got away from Ratelle. Fired at the shot. He's cutting it on the right side. Shot trying to get in. He almost did. And Rick Smith hooked it away. Here's Robinson shooting it in there. Good play by O'Brien. Penalty coming up. Perhaps not such a good play. He's going to get a penalty. Lafleur to Robinson. Finally, Schmott touched it. I think it's O'Brien going on.
This Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum.
28, Dennis O'Brien, 2 minutes for holding at 9 minutes, 29 seconds.
9:29, O'Brien for holding, and there you see the reason why. We've had a replacement in the public address booth. That's who the gentleman was, taking over from Claude Mouton and Claude Briere. But there is Dennis O'Brien sitting very close to him. So the Canadiens with a power play chance. They lead 1-0.
And the face-off will be in Boston territory. Shot, LaRouche, Lafleur, Lapointe, and Lemaire. Now Lafleur losing it, Park clearing it ahead, and it's propelled down the ice by Marcotte to the center ice area. Lemaire bouncing back, in it goes to LaRouche, cutting in. He centered it, it came to the side, and Cheevers covering up. So Pierre LaRouche, number 28. Is that the first time he's been in the playoffs since the Detroit series?
Yes, he did not play in the 4 games in the Toronto series, nor in the first 4 games in this one. And he didn't quite get good wood on that attempted pass out to Lemaire.
Now it's behind the net. Here's Lemaire. He fired a shot just wide, going for the far side. Canadiens buzzing in there. Shut. Losing it. Brad Park ahead to Shepard, and he cleared it into the center ice area. Canadiens are leading 1-0 with 9 minutes and 50 seconds left in the opening period. Canadiens on the power play. Lafleur in on the right side. Tried to center it. Park snapped it to the line, not out. And Milbury knocked it into the center ice area. Lapointe takes a look. Coming in is Lafleur. Lafleur getting in there, going in. He shoots the rebound. And Park cleared it. An enormous save by Cheevers on Lafleur. Shepard clearing it down the ice. Lafleur was able to waltz right in there, and unflinchingly, Cheevers stood his ground and beat the Canadiens, number 10. Now here's Mondeau over the line, back to Lambert. Lambert getting ready in front of the goal. A big save again, the loose puck. They shoot, and oh, it's capped out by Rick Smith. Rick Smith was back in there.
What chances? Yvon Lambert walked in. Cheevers made the save. Then it was Mondu. Before that, it was Cheevers on Lafleur. 31 seconds left in the Boston penalty. These teams have gone through 24 straight power plays without anybody scoring in this series since game 1. And here's that last flurry around the Boston net. Chico then sweats when it's great for the goaltenders to have a defenseman backing them up.
Yeah, they're our best friends, and Rick Smith made the big play there.
Now the spinorama by Savard going in, fouled it, and again blocked by Cheevers. Canadians with big pressure here on the power play. Mondu. Goal!
Pretty good move by Pierre Mondu. Chico, I wonder if maybe in this case he didn't fool everybody.
The element of surprise is the secret here, as we'll see. He looks out front, but he whips it real quick. Somebody with a stick there distracting Gerry a little bit. And just an excellent surprise shot. Not necessarily that hard, but again, I think everybody in the rink, including Gerry Cheevers, expected Pierre to pass it there.
There's a back of the net look at it. You can see how quickly that shot came in. During our upcoming first intermission, we're going to have a special feature on Pierre Mondu. And you hear people like Ken Dryden talk about the great moves that he has. And you saw a perfect example right there.
Number 6, Pierre Mondu. Assist to number 18, Serge Savard, at 11 minutes, 10 seconds.
11 minutes, 10 seconds. Here's Ratelle keeping it in. Here's Lafleur. There goes to Lemaire. Knocked off his stick by Cheevers. Good play by Cheevers. Here's Lemaire to Lafleur, a shot, and he rattled it off Park's leg. Park clearing it to the line, not out. Ratelle coming back in there. Ratelle goes back to the line. Over it goes Savard. Savard broke his stick on it, or at least the shot went off the heel. Let's see. Are we going to get a couple of players going off here?
Roy Newell is keeping the penalty box busy tonight, that's for sure. And it's hard to figure out from that particular signal he gave just who is going. It looks like Lafleur is over there again. That's his second trip to the box. Mike Milbury of the Bruins. So the teams will again play 5 aside, and that's almost been the rule rather than the exception, Danny, in this first period. Now here we see why, as the two of them get sticks up. They broke away from one another very quickly, but Newell had at that precise point blown the whistle, and there they are in the penalty box. So a bit of a wild opening. The Canadiens, after being down 7-2 in shot, 8-2, Chico, have had 6 shots in a row without a reply from Boston. Another look at Mondu's goal.
Funny shot. I don't know what Gerry was thinking there. He had a stick off the ice, and his weight was kind of up. His legs were open, and I think it was just a matter of being surprised.
So the face-off to the right of Cheevers. Park clearing it to the far side to Rick Smith. He goes after it. Back to Brad Park. 2-0 Montreal leading Boston, and the Bruins led by the Irishman O'Reilly. Doesn't get anywhere on that. Here's Gainey turning at the line. O'Reilly after him, and the pass goes to Savard. He headmans it to Jarvis. In on the line. Gainey going in after it. Savard is getting in front of the net. It's there, and Park takes over for Boston. Ahead for O'Reilly. It goes by everybody into the Canadian zone. Robinson being trailed by McNab and O'Reilly. O'Reilly hit Robinson, and then he put the puck on Gainey's stick. Gainey coming down with Robinson. One back. Over for Robinson, off his stick wide. And Robinson showing tremendous agility tonight, particularly in the rushing department. Here's Rick Smith over. Goes to McNab. The shot wide. O'Reilly and Robinson in on the boards. Robinson gets it to Gainey, and he rolled it gently down to the Boston line. Gainey and Park started to mix it up. Here's O'Reilly feeding it in front. And Savard gives it to Gainey. Watch Lemaire on the other side. There's Lemaire with it in over the line. Lemaire trying to get in front of the shooter. Savard trying to knock it through. And the Bruins coming up with it. Here's McNab, the big fellow into the center ice area. Puts on the brakes, passes it to the line. Middleton almost got through there. Now the Canadiens with Ratelle, Nyrop on the other side. Ratelle is spun around by Smith. And the Bruins are back into the center ice area. It's Middleton. McNab, back to McNab, trying to set up Middleton. And Pierre LaRouche ahead to Gainey, or ahead to Resch. The shot, and that one off a stick. Now wheeling back on the right side, skedaddling down there is Miller. He's over the line, and he fired it just wide. Furious action here. Middleton centered it right in front. Back to O'Brien. There's the shot, knocked down. O'Brien has it again. He fired it to the short side. And Lapointe is in there for the Montreal Canadiens. Long pass, missed everybody down the ice. It goes. No touches it nicely against Montreal.
Live from the Forum in Montreal, the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Face off to the right of Dryden. 6 minutes exactly left. In this, the opening period, 2-0 for Montreal. Ratelle against Jarvis. Everybody up for the Bruins. Robinson picked up that bouncing puck. He gets it out to the line. There's Jarvis on the left side by Gainey. He got by Doak. Milbury in there, clearing it. Cornwallis. Here's Gainey. Gainey back over on the other side to Savard. He gives it to Jarvis. To Cornwallis. Now the Bruins get it to the line. Out. Robinson fed it back in there. And that's Cashman being watched by Lemaire. Ratelle takes a look, gives it to Cashman. Out over the line. Good work by Cashman. Excellent moves. Here's Cashman shooting it. Off the boards, cleared by Dryden into the corner, down on the right side. Mondeau coming down all alone. Mondeau getting in front. And finally he couldn't clear it all the way past Park. And Milbury shoots it down into Canadiens territory with 5 minutes and 6 seconds left in the opening period. Lemaire to Tremblay, swept away by Milbury. Now Ratelle ahead to Cashman. Cashman with Jonathan in on the line. Here's Cashman trying to center it. And it's knocked away by Savard. Ratelle takes it off the boards. Back it goes to the line. Tremblay to Lemaire with Mondeau in on the line. There's the shot, and it's cleared to the wing by Cheevers. Austin Bruins starting out. Ratelle hit Cashman with a pass. Cashman is very nifty with that puck, having difficulty this time against Robinson. In behind the net, Lapointe ahead on the right side. Tremblay at center, chopped a shot into Boston territory, and there's a wholesale change for both teams. Park shooting it down the ice, and that's going to be icing.
Well, the fans appreciating what the Canadiens have done because they have been skating really flying. And we look at this play by Jacques Lemaire. This one caused the fans a little bit of grief as he went down heavily. And this is the one, I believe, Savard following up. Oh, look at that, just by the corner. We couldn't see that from here, Chico. That's how close it came. Savard then couldn't put it home on the short side. Oh.
I think it hit Gerry's back toe.
So, as they say in the business, that was a false start. That's the only thing that's been false about this first period. It's been pretty fast, Chico.
It sure has. It sure has.
Now Nyrop shooting it. Shepard ahead to Schmutz. Back it goes to Shepard over on the other side. Park giving it off to O'Brien. He snapped the pass, knocked down by Shutt. Shutt digs it over the line. Shutt putting on the brakes, takes a look at Lafleur. Into the corner to Lafleur. He sent it, hit the goal post. It went off Lemaire in front of the net, or Park. Got by Cheevers, hit the goal post. So Nyrop firing it over on the other side. Lapointe clearing it to Lemaire. Lemaire upended in the center ice area. Lafleur shooting it, and Park got in front of it. Cheevers out of the net. It goes to the line, stopped, working into the corner. Lapointe cleared it to the other side. The Bruins take over at their own line. Schmutz handing it off to Park up on the left side. Here's Marcotte. Marcotte is around the net, centered it, back to the line. Rick Smith takes the low shot. He's wide with it. Canadiens clearing it out. On it is Rick Smith ahead on the left side. Marcotte snapping a shot. Now from the corner. Here's Nyrop. Broken up at center by Smith. The Bruins playing their defense up into the center ice area. Now they fall back. The floor is left up by Marcotte. Then Lemaire goes after Marcotte in front of the Canadian bench.
Danny, that's one of the first times I can recall seeing Jacques Lemaire get into a situation that quickly to ask as a peacemaker, if you will, but in a vigorous fashion, as he did then against Marcotte, who had taken a run at Lafleur. Marcotte's leaning up against the penalty box door, so they are both in the penalty box.
Bâton trop élevé à 17 minutes 13 secondes.
Chico, what do you think of these mild-mannered individuals starting to shove each other?
Well, it's interesting. Here you'll see the top of your screen there, Lafleur and Marcotte, who, like you say, are mild-mannered, and then Jacques Lemaire gets involved. And I think it's just a case of frustration on both parts. Lafleur, who's been shadowed by Marcotte most of the series, must feel a little frustrated. Marcotte, who, although he's doing a good job, things aren't going well for his team tonight. He's a little frustrated, and that's what this sort of thing leads to.
And the fans are beginning to get on the well-dressed Don Cherry. There's Newell, the referee. So it's a highly charged crowd we have here at the Forum tonight. And I think some of the spectators are bothering the Boston players, and some of Montreal's finest are down there to look after the situation. There's Schmutz taking a shot to the short side. Now Jarvis coming out over the line into the center ice area, crisscrosses with Gainey. Jarvis going in, fired at the rebound. And Rick Smith, who's had a fine playoff series, gets it to Shepard. He hands it off. Here's Schmutz cutting in, couldn't get a good shot against Robinson. Robinson firing it ahead to Jarvis. Gainey coming up quickly on that left side. Gainey dropping it back. It'll come out over the line. In possession is Robinson. There is Savard. He takes a look, fakes the pass, goes to the Boston line, still with it. Savard will circle in on the boards. Now Savard again cleared it. And it's Rick Smith in there for Boston. Lambert is on the ice now for Montreal. Schmutz comes up on that right side. The pass through center and missed. McNab goes down the ice. And that is an icing infraction against Boston. So there's Guy Lapointe. Pretty valuable hockey player, Chico.
Yeah, he sure is. He's one of the so-called big three in that Montreal defense. And tonight, and I think the talk around town was the entire Montreal defense, but especially those three guys, had to become more involved in the play. And you'll see that tonight with Larry Robinson rushing the puck much more, Serge Savard moving up with the play a number of times.
Talking about defense, that Boston defense has surprised and amazed me. Joke is playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play. Milbury's coming along beautifully. And Rick Smith. And of course, what can you say about Brad Park, one of the greatest in the game?
I think that's been the secret to the surprising success the Bruins have had, is that defense.
There's good stick work by Milbury. He cleared it over to Jonathan. A shot, and Lapointe is there to take over for Montreal. The score is 2-0 near the end of the opening period, with the Canadiens leading, and Lapointe fires it to the other side for Robinson. McNab tried to pin Robinson in. Robinson gets some skating room into the center ice area. He has Resch. Ool has it. There's the shot. Cheevers had difficulty with that, although he had the short side well covered.
That's right. Gerry was a little bit far back in the goal there. But when things are going well, that seems to happen. You'll see it here again. There's a good example. Larry Robinson really taking control tonight, Danny. And you'll see him here. Now he gives the puck, and then he rushes for the net. Resch, who's inside the circle there, we always consider that a good range to shoot from. He likes to shoot. And there you'll see Gerry back in the net a little bit. But again, things are going well, and pucks tend to hit you a little bit more, even though you might make a little mistake.
So we have 1 minute and 9 seconds left in this period. Gainey tried to get the pass over to Lapointe, who went off Middleton's stick, and now Lapointe cleared it into the penalty box. And you know, Claude Mouton knew something when he left there. His successor has been hit with the puck.
Oh, he bailed out just in time. I think he's even cut. And I'll bet he's probably doing that for free too. I'll bet he's just a volunteer, and isn't that the way it goes?
You've got to be kidding. Who does anything?
Well, you got a good
Chico,
point.
you know, have you people, I can't hear very well over there when you and Dick are chatting. You know, the Canadiens got the first goal, and it's the first time in the series they scored the first goal.
That's right. That's right. And it has allowed them to open up. Of course, for that second goal, also it helps. It's allowed them to play their game.
Last minute of play in this first
So
period.
less than a minute to go. Here's Middleton. Over it goes. Milbury tried to clear it in front to Ratelle. Into the corner, they fight for possession. Ratelle to Middleton. He lost it to Resch. Here's Uhl coming out with Lemaire. Into the corner, Uhl tried to center it. The centering pass to the side of the net. It's held there by Cheevers.
Well, that first goal, as we said, Danny, is very important, especially at home. A big crowd tonight. You know they're fired up, and like I said in the games in Boston, you know, an early goal just adds a little fuel to the fire already within the building, and it's I think it's really propelled them into maybe perhaps their best period of the series.
Well, I think the Boston Bruins have gained the admiration of many with their gutsy, gritty, gallant performances, and they've done that against all odds. They were prohibitive underdogs going into this series. People were talking 4 games, 5 games, and here after 4 games, it's deadlock.
Got a whale of a series.
So the puck is in the Canadian zone. In there goes Robinson to take over. He's watched by O'Reilly. Robinson nimbly again got away from an intended check by O'Reilly. Here's Lemaire into the center ice area. He fired it in. Cheevers clearing it up on the left wing to center. 4 seconds left, and I think this will be about the end of the first period. That is it. So scoring in the period for the Montreal Canadiens, Robinson and Montoon. The shots on goal even at 11. At one time, Boston at a huge margin, 8-2. There we see the Bruins stepping into their dressing room, and they're very happy, no doubt, that this is an air-conditioned building because it's hot here tonight. And so the score at the end of the first period, Montreal 2, Boston nothing. Okay, the second period is about to get underway. We have Lemaire out with Lafleur and shot for Montreal, and for Boston, Big McNab is between Wensing and O'Reilly, and that is a rugged line for the Boston Bruins. The Bruins shooting it in. Robinson, who was probably the outstanding performer in the first period, he gets it out. The shutter fires it to the other side. Now Wensing coming down on the left side. And Lafleur knocked it back into the center ice area. Milbury over to Park off the board. McNab clearing it into Canadian territory. Lemaire's clearing pass hit Wensing. They go in there. There's Lemaire again. Up on the left side. Shutt failed to pick it up. It's down the ice, and Park strides gingerly after it. And it is an icing against the Canadiens.
Now there's John Wensing, who was thrown out of the game in Boston the other night. He was part of the big brawl. Saw him and Gilles Lupien of the Canadiens ejected. Lupien is in uniform tonight, has not seen any action. 11 penalties called in the first period, all minors, 8 of them for high sticking.
Canadiens are making a change. The Bruins are holding to Wensing. McNab and O'Reilly laying up Doak and Smith. Resch working it on the right side. It's into the center ice area. The Bruins quickly stop it, and McNab feeds it to the far side. O'Reilly after Robinson. Down the ice, Canadiens may be called here again. No, good work by Jarvis, who sped down there and beat Rick Smith to it. Now they struggle on the boards, and the face-off will be in the Bruins' territory. Is this accidental that the Canadiens are beginning to throw that puck down the ice, or is it by design this early in the game?
Well, I think they'd like to continue to open up Boston defense if they can. And Gilles Tremblay and I talked about it earlier. Montreal likes to make that long, hard pass. If the pass isn't received, it a lot of times goes for icing. But the chances are then also that it won't be intercepted by a Boston player.
And there's a good look at Rick Smith, a battered veteran who has performed well, as we mentioned earlier. And the face-off is about to take place to the left of Cheevers.
It'll take place after this game of musical lines has been completed. The juggling going on. Scotty Bowman as the home coach getting the last change. Now we've got a problem down on the Canadiens' end, as again some debris has been thrown from the south end of the forum down to the left of the broadcast booth. This time they don't have to bring out the scrapers. Matt Pavlich is the only one needed, so he skates down, picks it up, and we are hopefully set to go down at the other end of the rink, the Boston zone.
Canadiens with the defense of Nyrop and Lapointe. They're in over the Boston line. The Bruins get the draw, but it's for naught. They call it back. And again, they'll face off to the left of Cheevers. Leon Stickle. There is Ratelle. Jarvis against him. The Bruins again getting the draw. Finally, they clear it out. On it is Resch. He knocked it back in. Here is Ratelle on the right side. It goes to O'Reilly. O'Reilly with Middleton. O'Reilly takes a look, puts on the brakes, tries to get it in front. He's still with it into the corner. Here's Ratelle against the point of Resch. Jarvis is going to get a penalty. Here come the Bruins. Out of the net came Cheevers.
And it'll be a holding penalty against the Canadiens' Doug Jarvis. From the Forum in Montreal, this is Stanley Cup 78.
At 1:34 seconds.
Doug Jarvis of the Canadiens, one of their best penalty killers, is now in the penalty box, holding the call as he put the grab on Terry O'Reilly. The Bruins with a power play. I believe this is the first Boston power play. Now we get Don Cherry holding things up. I didn't see what started that. Possibly he tried to make an extra change to line up his power play, and the referee wouldn't let him, so Cherry's standing at the open gate. He and Newell exchanging unpleasantries, and there is Newell saying, "Let's go."
The interesting thing, there isn't a defenseman out there for the Bruins. They're all forwards.
So the Bruins with a big opportunity here to get back into the hockey game. Gainey gets it to center. Now McNab lugging in and over the line. McNab in it goes to Cashman. Cashman around the net. The Bruins on the power play. Cashman giving it to Shepard. Shepard played it back to the point, and there's no one there. A minute and 35 seconds left in the penalty to Chavez. The Bruins with Brad Park on the ice now, along with McNab, Schmotz, O'Reilly, and Shepard. 5 of them into the center ice area into Canadian territory. They shoot it off the corner glass, and it's in among the spectators. So the face-off will be outside the Canadiens' line.
Serge Savard of the Canadiens assisted on his team's 2 goals in the first period. Larry Robinson getting the first, Pierre Mondu the second on a power play. It's 2-0 Montreal.
2 minutes and 13 seconds have gone by in a period that is off to a slow, staggering start. It's still 2-0 for Montreal. Let's see what the Bruins will be able to effectuate here on the power play with Ratelle at center now. Schmotz back on 1 point, Park on the other. Lemaire ties up his man. It's back into Boston territory. Park takes a look. He slides the pass for Cashman. He misses it. It's cleared back by the Canadiens to Savard at the Boston line. He lost it to Schmotz. It's Savard, a penalty killer up front, along with Lemaire, Robinson, and Lapointe on defense. The Bruins having difficulty getting their attack organized. O'Reilly firing it in. Robinson takes a look, and he sends Boston back down the ice. And that brings the penalty time to 38 seconds left for Jarvis, and the Bruins starting out with Cashman. He hits the Montreal line into the slot, and he is broken up by Gainey. And again, the Bruins have to go back. They have not had a shot in the first 1 minute and 40 seconds of the penalty to Jarvis. There's excellent forechecking by Gainey. Now the Bruins start out. Cashman into the center ice area. The spot broken up. It's recovered. Here's O'Reilly stepping in over the line. Drop pass to Schmotz. Schmotz shoots it. Who's pucking from the net? Finally cleared away from Ratelle by the corner. Into the corner they go. O'Reilly trying to come up with it. Robinson laying it to Jarvis. He's back on the ice, and the Canadiens start out a right wing pass to Resch with Gainey. Over for Gainey. Back in! And an enormous save with that right leg by Cheevers. He had to move quickly. Now the Canadiens, Robinson in on the left side. Penalty coming up. There's the shot. Cheevers stopping it. He got a stick out against Ricebrough. Ricebrough and O'Reilly started to exchange punches. And Stickle gets in there quickly. A lot of milling about. We see dancing around Trombley and Smott. And Lemaire has Brad Park as his partner. So the dancing is stopped and the penalties will be assessed.
Well, the goaltender was in on that one, Chico, one way or another, when it all began, but Ricebrough wasn't seen action all that much here tonight. Spun away up from Cheevers. Now we get Schmotz and Mario Trombley looking as though they want to, and now they are going to go. Trombley in the white sweater, Bobby Schmotz in the dark.
Are they ever going to throw a punch? They're in the circle. They're in the ring now.
And the linesmen aren't around because they're trying to convoy O'Reilly and Ricebrough to the penalty box. Newell hasn't stepped in the middle, and there has been a punch thrown.
I imagine each is hoping the official will stop. By Trombley. Trombley scored with a tremendous right hand.
Well, that was the punch. He gets the same reaction from the Montreal crowd that Stan Donovan got from the Boston crowd the other night in his fight with Pierre Bouchard. Through that session, they were doing it to the accompaniment of the theme from Star Wars. It's being pumped out over the organ by the forum organist.
I don't know if it's been bad blood between the Bruins and the Canadiens, but there's been a fair amount of blood anyway.
Well, that's true. I don't know if there was any on that play, but
well, they're trying. All right, we'll take a break. Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum.
Chico, what is the condition of Schmotz and Trombley?
it doesn't appear that either one was cut, although there was really only one punch, but it was a good one. And Mario Trombley, just as you were about to say, I think both were kind of waiting for the linesmen to get there. And I don't know if Schmotz relaxed a little bit, but Mario Trombley threw a good right hand. And
Les
this is
punitions.
how it all began. Cheevers, Ricebrough, then O'Reilly.
Punition mineure
And then it started.
Au numéro 11, Bobby Schmotz, 5 minutes pour s'être battu. Au Canadien, numéro 8, Doug Ricebrough, 2 minutes pour Rudess.
O'Reilly picks up two
Et au numéro
penalties,
14,
two minors.
Tremblay, 5 minutes pour s'être
The
battu.
Bruins come out on the short end. So we'll watch Don Cherry. He is now waving to the crowd and waving to the referee as the announcement is made. And he's giving the, yeah, that's right, you're okay sign to referee Dave Newell. Needless to say, he doesn't agree. Well, there is Schmotz shaking off the
The
effect
penalties to
is
Boston
set to
number
with
24, Terry
Mario
O'Reilly.
Trombley.
Double minor for roughing. And to number 11, Bobby Schmotz, 5 minutes for fighting. To the Canadiens, number 8, Doug Ricebrough, 2 minutes for roughing. And number 14, Mario Tremblay, 5 minutes for fighting. At 4 minutes, 2 seconds.
Let's see, it's going to be Lemaire against Shepard. We have 4 Bruins out there, just 3 Canadians. That is in front of the goalie, and now Robinson will play along with Lemaire, Savard. And for Boston, Gerry is holding up things. He's talking to Shepard, and Newell, the referee, goes over and warns Don Cherry, and he goes after the referee along the bench.
Cherry said he did it, meaning Bowman.
He was rather hemmed in. He couldn't get out on the ice. Now it's Brad Park. Ray Jean-Houl after him. Canadians trying to keep it in. Lemaire lost it, and Robinson couldn't get it on the right side. Then he bodied Middleton. And Lemaire circling back at his own line, gives it to Savard, who spins away from Middleton. Savard up on the right side. He hits the Boston line, gives it to back to Savard. Savard on the backhand. And covering on that short side was Cheevers. Along the boards, Brad Park tying up Lemaire. Shepard in possession. There's a pass that goes over on the far side to Milbury at center, going in with Middleton. After it is Savard. Savard ahead to Ray Joe. Lemaire's on the right side. And forced to get clear of it, and then he goes to the Canadiens bench. They're playing 5 aside, barring further penalties after 1 minute and 4 seconds. Canadiens will have the advantage. The shot by Shepard, a weak one knocked out. Here's Robinson up on the left side, dropping it back to Lemaire. The point shoots it! It went off Cheevers' left glove hand, I think. Into the corner they go. Brad Park along with Lemaire. Milbury, good move to get away from Gainey. A dangerous move, but a good one. Now in over the line for the Bruins. Here's Middleton shooting it, and he whipped their shot just wide. Here's Jarvis beating down with Gainey. Jarvis trying to cut through there, tied up. Cheevers firing it to the far side, and Ratelle has it. Into the center ice area. Over the line, drop pass. Jonathan. Now Gainey turning on the right side. They're still playing 5 aside. Jarvis upended at the defense. By Doak. Cheevers away out, knocked down. Back in. Shot by Jacques. Oh, look at that Cheevers move. He's putting on an exhibition here. He shoots it down. It goes down the ice. And the penalty is now being served by O'Reilly, with the Canadiens having the advantage. Down the ice it goes into the corner, and it is icing against the Montreal Canadiens. How about that, Cheevers? Are you going to do that next year, Chico?
Well, it's worked pretty well for him. If I could, I would. And they haven't had much offense, and I guess Gerry figures, well, I'll get them started.
Well, I tell you, it adds excitement. The Goaltenders Union should ask for extra compensation if you promise to do it more often, that's all.
Maybe get a points bonus or something like that. Or shots on goal bonus.
Fans love it. Well, Stan Jonathan was involved in some of the battling that went on in Boston the other night when they had 74 minutes in penalties in Game 4. Tonight already 40 minutes in penalties. The first 3 games were very tame by comparison, an average of just 19 minutes per game, until it all erupted in Boston on Sunday.
So Montreal on the power play, the face-off in deep Canadian territory. LaRouche is on with Lapointe, Lafleur, Sheldon Robinson, Miller for Boston with Marcotte, Smith, and Doak. And the Bruins send Montreal back into their own zone, and Robinson from behind the net. Now the Canadiens are forming for the power play attack led by Lafleur on the right side. He fired it in. There's Cheevers again. Off the glass it goes, and the Bruins chop it down the ice. A goalie as alert as Cheevers can be a tremendous assistant to his teammates. And you're seeing a great example of it tonight. Now the Canadiens, a good pass. Too hard off Shutt stick. Shutt trying to fit it. Oh! What a remarkable play by Cheevers on number 28, Pierre LaRouche. We have to see that again. What a save. Puck is back in the Canadian zone. Here's Robinson up on the right wing to Mondeau. He steps in over the line, takes a look, fires it nowhere near the net. Here's Robinson. He left it there for Lafleur. There's the shot. Off the leg. It's out over the line. And back into the center ice area, Lafleur. He picks his way nimbly in on the left side, drops it back to Robinson. Mondeau is getting in front. Here's Robinson. To Mondeau, right in front. And he's blocked by Cheevers. What a man, that Gerry Cheevers. 2-0 to score. Montreal leading. 10 seconds left in the second O'Reilly penalty. Canadiens coming out into the center ice area. Here's Mondeau darting in on the right side. Cheevers away out of the net. He's playing with tremendous confidence.
Tremendous goaltending indeed, Danny. The penalty over as the whistle went. This is Stanley Cup 78 from the Montreal Forum. Lafleur on the Canadiens bench. He's been a bit frustrated of late. The Bruins have thrown a pretty good collar on Lafleur these last few games.
Now they're out there, each team with a full complement. 2-0 Montreal. Leading Boston, 11:45 left in this, the second period. Rick Smith hesitated, then he got rid of it. It'll be an icing infraction against the Bruins. How about Cheevers?
He's taking off his gloves, kind of regrouping his equipment down there.
This period is much like the second period the other night in Boston, where Montreal completely dominated, but Gerry had an excellent period, allowed his team to get back into the game, and he seems to be doing the same thing tonight, because as we said, Montreal gets a third goal, and it's going to be awfully tough for Boston to do anything after that.
And we swing away from the Canadiens bench to the face-off to the right of Cheevers. Jarvis against Ratelle. And again, we had somebody moving a bit too quickly. It had to be Gainey and O'Reilly over on the right side of the rim of the circle. There's a fellow about whom we have spoken so often and his great contribution to Boston, Doak, number 25. It's into the corner, along the board. Wensing shoots it down the ice. It's going to be icing with Robinson back there to touch it.
Danny, as you pointed out at one stage in the first period, the Bruins had outshot the Canadiens 8-2. Right now, overall in the game, it's 18-13. So from about the 7-8 minute mark of the first period through until now, the Canadiens have outshot Boston 16-5. So they have taken over, and Cheevers has been the big story again. O'Reilly, he has served his 4 minutes. He's back in action.
Ball face-off again in Boston territory, this time to the left of Cheevers. Newell is over there talking to O'Reilly and Gainey and Doak. I wonder how much effect that's going to have. The answer is absolutely none. There's O'Reilly in behind the net. Gainey was upended, now Wensing. Jarvis intercepts, he drills it back in there. Gainey fouling against Schmidt. Doak cleared it to the other side. Robinson has it in the center ice area. Savard on the right side takes a look. Fired it ahead, gets it again, and the Canadiens are called on the outside.
Bob Gainey of the Canadiens, number 23. Very much in evidence right there. He was dubbed twice. The fans roared on both occasions. He had a tremendous game the other night. Now, here's how they began that sequence, and the puck was being dropped in the face-off circle. Hello there. Down he goes.
Face-off in the center ice area. Canadiens at the line. Nyrop handing it off to Lapointe. He's up on the right side. Couldn't fire it through. Now Boston's O'Reilly. Dropping it off. Milbury over to Park. Park back to Milbury. Ahead on the left side. Puck high into the air. And turning on the right wing is Resch. Ool over the line. Jarvis in there. And O'Reilly gave Resch a solid jolt. Gainey and Milbury started to do some fencing. Now Cheevers is coming out to get a close-up look.
He's going to send them off, too. And that was rather interesting when all that was happening off camera. Tremblay and Schmatz, who had the fight and had served their 5-minute majors, were just slowly skating almost in tandem, side by side together, to get a close look at what was going on. With nary a sideways glance. With the score, Montreal 2, Boston nothing. This is Stanley Cup 78. Well, we have had a large number of double penalties tonight, Danny. And here we have it again. Gainey and Milbury off together.
2 minutes chacun pour battre à 9 minutes 23 secondes. The penalties to Boston, number 26, Mike Milbury, and to the Canadiens, number 23, Bob Gainey. 2 minutes each for high sticking at 9 minutes 23 seconds.
Now the Bruins coming in. Ratelle was tied up, a point ahead for Lafleur. He chases it into the center ice area, tied up by Rick Smith. Naira bringing in. And again, the Canadiens are called on the offside with 10 minutes and 12 seconds left in a grinding type of second period, moving along rather slowly.
Pardon the pun, gentlemen, but the guys seem to be sticking it to each other a little bit more tonight, using their sticks much more than they have in previous games. And the other games are nice, crisp, hard hitting, but tonight it seems to be a lot more stick work, get the sticks up and jabbing, and I don't wonder if their bodies are bruised and tired, or or what the reason is, but they seem to be using their sticks a lot more tonight.
Well, you don't like stick work, do you? Not that type.
No, even though I have the mask on, I can still get hurt.
Now Ratelle trying to chase the loose puck, and Robinson has it. I see that Schmott has a welt on the side of the face, the left cheek, as a result of that punch delivered by Tremblay. Great little performer, number 11 for the Boston Bruins. He couldn't stop Savard. Savard passes it, it's down the ice. Cheevers clearing it up on the left side. Here is Savard taking a shot. It bounces to the boards. Rick Smith ahead to Ratelle. He gives it to Schmott with Brad Park into the center ice area. Schmott fakes the shot, trying to get through there. Into the corner. Now Ratelle trying to tie up Savard. Schmott has it. Schmott's dropping it on the boards, and it's picked up by Lemaire. Lemaire firing it into the center ice area with less than 10 minutes to go in the second period. Now Brad Park gets away from Lemaire over the line, gives it to Marcotte, cuts in, and his shot was to the side. Now Lafleur is chasing it. He gives it to Lemaire at center. Lafleur was upended, a penalty coming up against Marcotte.
This Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum.
Boston's penalty number 21, Don Marcotte, to 2 minutes for hooking at 11 minutes, 7 seconds.
That's the 19th penalty called by referee Dave Newell. And Chico, apropos of what you were saying, 10 of the penalties have been called for high sticking. There was another one for slashing. This one is for hooking. Watch Lafleur's feet. Right up from under up. Down he goes.
And the funny thing is, Donnie Marcotte argued about that.
The officials might not think it's too strange. They're used to it.
Okay, the face-off will be in Bruins territory. Montreal on the power play with Lapointe, Lemaire, Lafleur, and Shutt. Shutt is back at the line. Out of your picture. The Bruins with Rick Smith. Shepard, who is an enormous penalty killer. Great in forechecking capacity. There he is, number 19, moving in. Brad Park is the other skater for Boston. There are 2 Bruins in the penalty box, 1 Canadian. Here's Lafleur going to the right side off the board. Lafleur takes a look. The pass goes over on the wing. Gainey is out of the penalty box, along with his accompaniment in there, who is Milbury. Now the Bruins break up the Canadiens. Boston clearing it into Montreal territory, 2-0. The Canadiens leading with 8:10 left in the second period, and Montreal with Robinson shoving it ahead to Shutt. And again the Bruins sending Montreal back into their own zone. Good defensive work by number 14, Miller. He has been used sparingly tonight. Now Montreal trying it again into the center ice area. There's Miller whipping it back down into the Canadian zone. And the Bruins supporters giving a hand to number 14 particularly. Now the Canadiens into the center ice area led by Robinson. Robinson over the line, and it's called on the offside.
Great defensive work by the Boston Bruins, and in particular, young Miller, number 14, who was such a mystery to the team when he arrived at camp that he wasn't even listed in their roster or their guide. Scotty Bowman, his face reflects a little bit of concern, and I would have to think that maybe the thoughts of what happened Sunday night might start to creep in a little bit. The Canadiens totally dominated the second period. That's when they lost the hockey game. Through the fact that they managed to score only 1 goal through a 20-minute stretch when they were in total command, and they had a 2-1 lead, it wasn't enough. Now the lead is 2-0.
Well, productivity had been a hallmark of the Canadiens throughout most of the season, but at times in the playoffs they're having difficulty putting the puck into the net. Now it's stopped. Savard getting it over. There's a shot by LaRouche. It's blocked. The Bruins tip it out over the line. Savard on the right side. In it goes. LaRouche is getting a break, going in a goal! And a scintillating save by Cheevers. Oh, Cheevers has pulled off some great saves. Robinson getting it back to LaRouche. LaRouche takes a look. There's the shot. Cournoyer tried to knock it down. Then Cournoyer upended his man Milbury. Here's Savard making a move on the right side. Over it goes. There's the score!
makes it 3-0 Canadiens. Chico, if the replay comes back far enough, I thought the big move was the one made by Savard when he corralled the puck and kept it in play. Right here, see that? He picked it up, pulled away from Miller, and got the room to make the pass.
He made a nice pass across there because Pierre LaRousse was able to shoot the puck almost immediately when he received the pass. And that was the play, and I must say the Canadiens almost deserve that. The number of chances they had, and we talked about it, they haven't been able to score, but finally they were able to capitalize.
Well, as Danny pointed out, this is LaRousse's first playoff start since the quarterfinal series against Detroit. And he has the goal from Cornelier and Savard. Now take a close-up look at the goaltender, Chico.
Well, there it is again. You'll see Milbury cross-checking Lambert in front, and immediately as the goal was scored, Milbury went over to the referee and complained about something, but I couldn't see what it would be unless...
Oh, now we've got a real rhubarb going at the Boston bench. Gerry is nose-to-nose with Newell. That's like the baseball managers and umpires you see so often. I haven't seen a hockey coach and a referee at such close quarters in quite a while, but Gerry is doing his thing back there as usual, and he was very upset. No doubt Chico arguing about what Milbury was arguing about.
Chico, that goal by LaRousse, doesn't it remind you of Lafleur's second goal in the opening game from the same angle? He was set up by Lapointe.
That's right, where the goalie's coming across and he shoots back the other side. That's very unusual, the referee going over and explaining something. Usually they just stay away, but...
So with 6 minutes and 50 seconds left in the second period, the Canadiens leading 3-0. They fire it into Bruin territory. Newell is hit by a clearing pass from the stick of Rick Smith. Now Nyrop feeds it back into Boston territory. Lambert trying to control it. Cashman fell against Lambert. Brad Park staying with it. He's a strong boy. Finally, it's knocked off his stick by Lemaire. Rick Smith. Ahead it goes. Tremblay got his stick up and deflected it into the Bruins bench.
Ron Andrews just pointed out that the assist awarded Cornway in that last goal gives him a total of 127 playoff points. One more, Danny, than Rocket Richard, who finished his career with 126. But the Rocket, 82 of those were goals. Ooh. 6 in overtime, Chico.
The Bruins shooting it to the Canadiens line. Nyrop ahead to Lemaire with Lafleur. Lafleur putting on the brakes, over goes cut, shoot! Now the shot from the side went around the net. Into the corner, dashing in there is Lafleur. Let's see, a slashing penalty. Oh, shot was belted by Jonathan. He was given a jarring jolt by Jonathan, and shot is going to the penalty box.
That wasn't a very wise play on the part of Stan Jonathan, because I think he too has been penalized after the fact. He hit shot after the initial call had been made against the Canadian player. Live from the Forum in Montreal, the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Here's to Boston, number 17, Stan Jonathan. 2 minutes for roughing. And to the Canadiens, number 22, Steve Shutt. 2 minutes for slashing at 14 minutes, 2 seconds.
So it is a 5-a-side situation as we move into the final 5 minutes of the second period. Montreal leading 3-0. Now Park is upended. Robinson skates gently to center, hands it off to Savard, who has had a big night for the Canadiens tonight. Savard shooting it in there. Here is Park taking a look. Ahead on the left side, a feathery pass to McNab. He cleared it in. Cashman barging in, it goes to the other side. Here's Gainey, backtracking to get away from Cashman. Now it's Robinson in possession, goes to center, takes a look at the Boston line. Robinson controls the Gainey, is getting in front. Here's Serge shooting it. And the puck finally onto the stick of Brad Park. Cashman was upended by Gainey. And the Bruins supporters did some hollering on that. Gainey upending Cashman.
Now Cashman's going to get a penalty. He went by Gainey and gave him a flip. And look at Brad Park. He is going after Newell, something fierce.
Actually, Dick, what happened there, he went by Newell with his stick up high, and as he did, Yeah, I think he said something to him, and I think it's going to be a non-sportsmanlike penalty.
Oh, I see. I thought it was Gainey that he clipped. Well, we'll see. Park is very upset.
And it's frustrating. I know as the play was coming up the ice, Bob Gainey ran into Cashman and knocked him down, and he's frustrated, but still, that's where you have to show self-control. Heck, there's still 5 minutes left in this period, a whole period to play, and they can't afford to take these penalties at this stage of the game.
Boston's penalty number 12, Wayne Cashman, 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike conduct at 15 minutes, 2 seconds.
Good call, Chico. I can hear and read the post-game quotes already from the Boston side of things. Oh, yes, Newell has been under tremendous fire. Verbal fire from the Bruins. On this one, Gerry hasn't reacted at all. He has been just standing without making a move or saying anything in back of the Boston bench. He's let Cashman first to... So Park and Newell have their final words to one another, and that little argument is over.
There are times everyone would like to say something, but sometimes you have to hold back. And here you'll see Dave Newell in the corner. Now you're going to see Wayne Cashman come with a stick up. Ooh, just a close shave there, buddy. And he must have said something to him at the same time. I didn't realize he came so close. You see Dave Newell actually jump back, so there wasn't much he could do, I guess. I think I would have called the same thing.
And you see Park go into his tirade against Newell, which continued for quite a while. Fans getting a little restless now. They're happy that the play is about to begin.
So a USLC penalty, unfortunately, conduct, not to be mixed up with the University USCL. So, Canadiens with the advantage. Savard on the right side. He's had 3 assists. There's that spinorama move working in. Back to Lafleur. He gives it to Robinson. Will he return it? No, let's see. He takes a look. He's in. He's getting in front, takes a shot. He didn't get very good wood, as they say on that. He went stumbling. Now Lafleur into the slot position. Slides it off to Savard. There's the shot. And he whistled a shot low and wide. Lafleur. In it goes. And there's a good shot. He couldn't get a shot away. Joke was there to check him, and Cheevers covered up.
Chico, in a situation like this, there is a power play, but when you've got, you know, like the 5 against 4, that seems to give a team so much more room.
Okay, the face-off to the left of Cheevers. 4:19 left in the second period. Montreal leading 3-0, and the gentleman waved out of there. LaRouche scored the 3rd goal. Cournoyer getting it back to Lapointe. Here's Lapointe jammed into the boards by Shepard. Rick Smith tried to clear it out. It went over the glass. And we're going to get a look at Captain Cournoyer, a veteran of Stanley Cup pressure and competition. It means nothing to him. It means a lot of money, though.
Well, I think pride. You know, the players mostly play for the prestige and the pride and the joy of it. The money, really, take it or leave it.
What?
Yeah.
That?
Oh, yeah. It's hard to believe, I know, but it's the truth.
Well, we can give you all kinds of pride if you'll give us the money. Now it goes back to LaRouche. LaRouche taking a look. There's the shot. Hit Cournoyer. LaRouche takes another look. In it goes to Lafleur. 2 players on the penalty box. Back it goes to Lapointe. Lapointe slipping it in there to Lafleur. He fired and blocked by Cheevers. And the Bruins clear it into the center ice area. Cashman has 47 seconds left in his penalty. There's Cournoyer in there. Lafleur into the corner. Takes a look. Gives it to Cournoyer. Try to center it. Good play by Brad Park, and he shoots it into the center ice area. Shot over on the other side with it. Jonathan in possession for the Bruins. 25 seconds left in the penalty to Cashman. Here's Mondu whipping it in on the right side. Chuck digging from the left. Cheevers clears it off the glass, and it's golfed down the ice by Jonathan. The Bruins are going to make changes. They have Ratelle coming out with Marcotte, Doak, and Milbury, and the Canadiens coming up with Cournoyer at the line, and it is offside.
A funny exchange just happened as Gerry Cheevers went out to play the puck, which he so often does. Steve Shutt cruised by and hit him with a stick, and Gerry made a motion that he was going to hit him back, of course, and he realized that he really shouldn't, but he moved his arm like Steve said it actually hurt him, you know, and it doesn't hurt sometimes to put on a little bit of an act, especially in a case where the referee might give you a penalty.
And a penalty here the Bruins could use. They are down 3-0. They are about to get Cashman back on the ice. They do. There it goes into Cheevers. Cheevers. And there is a fine defensive play by Doak. We cannot help but repeat the all-out effort and the great work by fellows like Doak and Milbury. Unexpected sources, actually, for the Bruins. That is one of the essential reasons why they're into this series, into the 5th game, tied 2 games with Montreal Canadiens. Now Gainey is out there at the rim of the circle, mixing it up with Doak again, and Cashman has it. He ad-libs his way to center and then flashes a shot in there, and going to the far side is Cashman against Robinson. On the boards, they fight for it. Here's Miller passing it. It's waiting from the net. And Robinson went ahead and Gainey picked it up. Gainey has it. Gainey speeding in on the right side. Backhand shot. It's centered in front. Here come the Bruins wheeling away. 2 players going off. Now Jarvis and Milbury. Jarvis is a bit truculent. He ordinarily does not get into any kind of skirmishes, but he's playing a fine driving game for the Canadiens tonight. Number 21, Jarvis. He's into it wherever there is action. There he is going to the penalty box, and the Bruins will also be penalized with Milbury going off. Or is it Milbury? Let's see. Well, the penalty gate door is open. Don Cherry is talking to Milbury at the Bruins bench.
It's actually Wayne Cashman, and I don't know how he got involved in the play. But it was Milbury and Jarvis who had their sticks up. Here's a replay here. We'll see the puck go out front. Oh, Gerry Cheevers gives a little cuff on the side of the head to Jarvis, and Jarvis, again, unexpectedly gave him an elbow back, and Jerry's pointing like, did you see that? And
the penalties may have been assessed before Milbury and Jarvis got into it. We didn't see Cashman at all, but apparently he did something for its equation. Cashman is in there, and the penalty apparently, there's Lafleur. Here's Lemaire going in, and Cheevers got in front of it. It's the penalty to Cheevers. Is that the final announcement on penalties? Into the center ice area, in over the line. Spots getting it over to McNab. McNab falls in the corner. Nyrock left it there for Lemaire. Lafleur missed it. There's a shot by Brad Park. The rebound. Nyrock to the other side, and he cleared it down the ice. 1 minute and 45 seconds left in the period. 1 minute and 15 seconds left in the penalties. Cheevers being served by Cashman. Jarvis in there for Montreal. Now it's centered. That clock is not working. There is no synchronization on the penalties. You notice that? There's the shot. They score! Lemaire!
Well, Gerry Cheevers hasn't made many mistakes tonight, but this one here fools him a little bit. You'll see Lemaire just get over the blue line, fires it the smallest opening between the legs, and although that looks like a bad goal, sometimes the toughest shot is directly between the legs just above the stick. And I see at the penalty box there's mass confusion. They're calling Dave Newell over, and as you mentioned, they were having trouble with the clock, and I don't think that'll affect the goal, but it may affect the time of the goal.
So Montreal Canadiens open up a 4-0 lead with 1 minute and 18 seconds left in the second period. But the penalty clock shows Cheevers' penalty with 1:10, and it was 1:18 for Jarvis. Now they have it synchronized. There you see it, 1:10 each.
Avec l'aide du numéro 10, Guy Lafleur, et du numéro 2, Bill Myra, à 18 minutes 42 secondes. Canadiens goal scored by number 25, Jacques Lemaire, assist number 10, Guy Lafleur, and number 2, Bill Myra, at 18 minutes 42 seconds.
18:42, the time of the goal. There's Resch in his own zone. Go clearing it to the left side. Shepard coming in, fakes his shot, and then he held it. He heard the whistle on the offside. We're going to have a look at that goal again, Chico.
Okay, again, you'll see Jacques Lemaire cross center ice. He realizes there isn't much he can do but shoot. He shoots it nice and low, just above the stick. But unfortunately, Gerry had the smallest opening between his pads, and he got a piece of it, but it just trickled in. And as bad as it was when it was 3-0, with the score 4-0, Boston really is in deep trouble right now.
Now here's Ratelle. Ratelle cutting in. There's a pass to Middleton. It went off his leg, and Dryden covers up. So that brings it down to 45 seconds left in the second period. A look at the veteran, Jean Ratelle. He'll face off against Lemaire. Back it goes Middleton, a weak shot. And it's Savard over to Robinson. The next game in this series, the 6th game, will be played in Boston on Thursday night. Now Robinson is knocked to the ice by Middleton. Ratelle tries to center it. Milbury jammed in on the board. And it's held there by Lemaire and Milbury. 24 seconds the time left in the second period. The shots on goal, 24 for Montreal and 18 for Boston.
Montreal has directed 25 shots at the Boston goal this period, the most in any game in this year's Cup Finals.
Face off to the right of Dryden. The Bruins would dearly love, of course, to get a goal here to wind up this second period, to give them some momentum going into the third period. Right now, Boston behind 4-0. Ratelle on the face-off. Going after it, finally loses it. Savard on the right side with Cashman after him. Puck rolls down to the Boston line. Jacques firing it, not out. Here's Gainey, over it goes to Jarvis, backhand shot wide. In on the boards, they fight for it. And it's kicked free, Gainey has it, he turns, shoots it. Blocked by Cheevers. There's the end of the second period. So the Montreal Canadiens getting 2 goals in each of the first 2 periods. Canadiens with a 4-0 lead over the Boston Bruins and outshooting Boston over 2 periods, 25-18. So the score at the end of the second period, Montreal 4, Boston 0. So Montreal 4, Boston no score, and it is indeed a gargantuan task for the Boston Bruins moving into the third period. And Graham is in goal for Boston. But regardless of the size of the task, this battling Bruins team has been a tremendous team all year. Now it's back into the Boston zone. Park is in there, but apparently Lafleur touched it. Now Lafleur was upended by McNab. And let's see, O'Reilly is going to go out too. Did he shoot the puck?
It appeared that way.
And now they have to restrain Terry O'Reilly, who wants to get at the referee. So the beat goes on. Peter McNab, a big fellow who drew only 2 minor penalties throughout 80 games of the regular season has now gone to the penalty box, so everything is happening. Dougie Jarvis, who doesn't get many penalties, had a couple for Montreal. Now you see O'Reilly being restrained by John Wensing as he directs remarks in the area of Newell, and there is the most beleaguered man in the building in this 5th game of the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll sort this one out. The original call was against McNab, and then he put the finger on O'Reilly. We might see it here. Here's McNab. Now watch him. He drops Lafleur to the ice, so that's the reason for the penalty call. See Brad Park's look of resignation there as he skated by, but out of camera range, something happened that caused the referee to put the finger on O'Reilly. They're still sorting it out. From the Forum in Montreal, this is Stanley Cup 78. Perry O'Reilly's been given a game misconduct.
The penalty is to Boston, number 8, Peter McNab, 2 minutes for hooking, and to number 24, Terry O'Reilly, a game misconduct penalty at 27 seconds.
Well, there is O'Reilly, who is talking things over with Coach Cherry. There's not much he can do by remaining on the ice. He is gone, and there he goes, shaking his head rather sadly. Well, this is turning into a long, drawn-out, penalty-filled affair. There's Gerry Cheevers at the end of the bench. As Danny pointed out, he has been replaced by Ron Graham. Chico, a goaltender replaced in a situation like this, were you surprised?
No, I looked for it, actually. Gerry needs a rest. They've got to get him ready now for the game, the next game at home, and I think it's a good move. A situation like this could also result in a suspension or a heavy fine, because this happened with Dave Newell during a regular season game, and the player involved on our team was brought in front of the president, and there was a chance of a suspension, so we'll have to watch that.
From the face-off, it goes to the far wing. A weak shot by Miller into the center ice area. Canadians on the power play. They lead 4-0. It's ripped in on the left side. Tyler Point, Cournoyer speeds in there. And he left Sims in his wake. Sims is on. I think that's the first time in this game. Miller tried to clear it out. Cournoyer couldn't hold it in. Now Cournoyer on the left side. It's propelled in by Lapointe. It's ripped off the boards by Park. Robinson tipped it in, and Sims shoots it into the center ice area. 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the penalty. A pass broken up at the Boston line by Marcotte, and the Canadians back into their own zone, and they make it change. Cournoyer to the bench. Lafleur is on the ice. Now Lapointe turning in his own zone. Ahead it goes. Lambert steps back in there to get some skating room. He hands it off on the wing. Here's Lemaire. He's forced back. Good forechecking by the Bruins. Now the Canadians with Lapointe. Lapointe shooting it in. Lafleur in there around the net. Lafleur getting it to Lemaire, to Lapointe, to Lafleur. And Park comes up with it for Boston, gives it to Miller, and Miller just gets it into the center ice area. Now here's Sims up on the left side, over the line. The shot is wide on the left side. Lapointe is bumped by Miller. Lemaire has it for Montreal, cutting from in front of Dryden, feeds it to Robinson on the right side. He's in over the Boston line. Here's Robinson taking a look around the net. Robinson still after it. He's in on the board. Park hands it off to Marcotte. It's off Lafleur's stick, and Lemaire hands it to Savard. Up on the left side, shut. Deflected it across the line, and Park rolled it back to center, and the Bruins killed off that penalty to McNab rather effectively. Brad Park shooting it down into the Canadian zone. Striding back is Savard, with the Bruins making changes while the play goes on. A pass off the stick of Shot, and it bounced up to the Bruins bench.
Well, there is Gerry Cheevers. He, of course, has been a very, very dominant figure in this playoff, and he will be again, I am sure. But he is getting a rest from Don Cherry, as Chico pointed out. No surprise, really, considering the way it's gone. And Ron Graham, number 31, is in the nets for Boston.
And I notice that Cournoyer has retired to the Canadiens' dressing room. There's Rick Smith with a shot that's blocked. Ratelle left it. Canadians getting it on the left side. Ratelle with Jarvis, dashing in there. Graham cleared it to Schmott. In on the board, Jarvis. He's played a strong game for the Canadians tonight. Ratelle up to Jonathan, the rink-wide pass to Schmott. Schmott hitting the Montreal. Ratelle is going in there, checked by Gainey. Off the board. It bounces high over the glass.
You know, gentlemen, I don't think I have ever seen as many newsmen in the area of a team's dressing room between periods as I saw downstairs during the second intermission. They were waiting, I am sure, for some deathless quotes from somebody involved with the Bruins. There were a whole phalanx of them heading down the stairs with about 2-3 minutes to go. I don't know if anything came of it or not. I understand that really Cherry and Harry Sinden and so on were quite cool about the whole thing.
Shepard, Cashman, and Middleton, the forward line for the Bruins. There's Jarvis getting out over the line, ahead to Gainey. He tipped it. Resch is over the line. Cleared it in. Graham hands it off to Shepard. Shepard into the center ice area. Checked by Gainey. A pass. And he hit Milbury with it with Middleton. In it goes. There's a shot by Cashman. And a penalty coming out. That was one of these sizzling saves from close in. And Tremblay is going off for hooking.
Tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum.
Here's the replay. You'll see a good chance here by Cashman and also the penalty here. Puck comes out to Cashman, and there's Tremblay hooking him a little bit, but Kenny Dryden making the best save of the night as far as he's concerned.
The Bruins on the power play. McNab is at center. Marcotte and Wensnick on the wing. Not shooting it, and he drifted it high. Went off the stick of Gainey. The other Bruin on the power play is the anchor man on the blue line. At all times on the power play for Boston, number 22 Park, as we look at Ken Dryden. Now Schmott takes his shot off the stick. Dryden clearing it. In on the boards. They fight for possession. Winsing clearing it in. Big McNab goes after Savard. Lapointe shooting it over the corner glass.
Change now for the Canadians. Guy Lapointe, number 5. There was a lot of speculation as to how he would react health-wise after suffering that eye injury and missing 2 months, but he has recovered, I would have to think, Danny, just in time for the playoffs. He is back to form. He rejoined the team around mid-February, late in February. He was injured just before Christmas.
A minute and 41 seconds left in the Tremblay penalty. Stopped at the line. Park fakes the shot, gives it to Schmott. It rolls in from the net. Wimsick was upended out to McNab. He shoots it, blocked by Dryden. Dryden is being tested here. Park keeping it in. Couple of big saves by Dryden. He's under the net. There's Jarvis bouncing into the corner, gets an opening and shoots it down the ice. And the time left in the penalty. Down to 1 minute and a dozen seconds. The Bruins are back there. A lead pass on the right side to McNab into the center ice area with Marcotte. McNab over the line. It's blocked. McNab trying to center it around the net. Into the corner. Park moves in rather deeply. Now they fight for it. Marcotte is belted by Gainey. And I think Gainey has been the most solid belter for the Canadiens tonight. Pass back to the point. Got by Schmott. Gainey has been throwing his body around ever since the opening whistle. Now it's back out over the line. At his own line. Gets away from Resch. Park leading a 4-man Boston attack. Park with that head fake. It's loose into the slot area. And Savard relieves the pressure and the puck goes down the ice with 15 seconds left in the penalty. And the time remaining in the third period, 14 minutes and 15 seconds, and Boston led by Jonathan. They rush into the Canadian zone. There's a pass off Ratelle. Ratelle into the corner, gives it to Jonathan. 4-0 Montreal leading. Jonathan tries to jam it in from the short side. But Dryden wouldn't have any of it. He held against the goalpost.
Now Stan Jonathan hearing it from the fans. No doubt the aftermath of battle with Pierre Bouchard at the Boston Garden. And this is that last play, and a little bit of action around the Canadiens' net in case of follow the bouncing puck. And Dougie Jarvis to the rescue. Now here's Gainey's check. Danny mentioned he has been using the body very effectively, and there you see an example.
O'Brien shot off the leg. Rick Smith clearing it ahead, intercepted. Lemaire dashes by two players, lost it to O'Brien. Ahead to Miller for Boston at the Montreal line was Jonathan Ratelle. O'Brien moves up, clears it into the corner. Nyrop ran into Miller. Here's Lafleur just getting rid of it. Picked up by Shut. Offside against Montreal.
I'll tell you what kind of a night it's been. Peter McNab has played through 93 games into tonight with only 2 minor penalties, and he drew one tonight. Dougie Jarvis, I don't think his record wasn't that much greater as far as penalties are concerned, and he has a couple here tonight. So it's playoff time.
Doesn't appear Montreal's letting up at all either. They're carrying this thing right through, and they continue to take the body and check. And I think what the teams are playing for now is the game Thursday night. And Boston should try and generate some offense and get some confidence going into that game. And I think that's their main objective now.
Here is Gainey. Ray Jean fades to the right side. It went off Smith's stick, and it was lugged in by Uhl. Offside. Ray Jean 13:27 left in the third period. We still have not received the attendance figures. There's Ratelle, but this, I think, will be the biggest crowd of the playoffs.
I think the man that has the concessions for the bandages has done pretty well in this series. The other night in Boston, you had Marcotte and Lafleur, both of them needing it after about 2 minutes of play, and it carried on from there.
Now Robinson over for Cournoyer. He dumped it into the corner. Graham playing it to the point. Savard into Lambert. Backhand shot. A sliding save by O'Brien. Savard over to Robinson. Into the corner. On the move is Lambert. Mondu trying to get in front. Back off the boards. Now it's kept in by Cournoyer. Miller couldn't get out. He's chased back in by Lambert, and the Canadiens in that forechecking pattern with Lambert, Cournoyer, and Mondu. There's Cournoyer. He couldn't get it. Neither could Winsing. Rick Smith into the center ice area. Over to Cashman. There's the shot. Very coolly kicked out by Dryden. He has not had too much to do in this game tonight. Cournoyer over the line. Try to get it in front. Mondu after it. Dryden's best save came in this period off the stick of Cashman. Rick Smith, long rink-wide pass. Cashman couldn't reach it. It's golf. Picked up by Cashman over the line. Now there it goes into the corner. Winsing to Miller right in front. And Winsing was bumped by Robinson. Here's LaRouche coming down on the right side, trying to get through there. He centered it. And Sims was there. Tremblay. Over it goes Risebrow. Bounces it in front. Miller takes over for Boston. We have LaRouche, Risebrow, and Tremblay. Miller cleared it down the ice and then went to the Boston bench as the Canadiens with Nyrop leading the attack, shooting it in. Risebrow coming from the left side, and the Bruins, Jonathan, off the stick of Middleton at center. Nyrop. Still up point. 4-0 Montreal. In front of the Bruins here in the third period as we near the midway mark. Canadiens getting 2 goals in each period. There's Jonathan flipping it out, and Dryden grabbed up.
This is Stanley Cup 78 from the Forum in Montreal.
Lower corner of your screen, Graham, who took over from Cheevers starting the third period. Boston, everybody up for the face-off. Middleton from close quarters, couldn't get through. Sims in for Jonathan. He's jammed into the boards by Lemaire. Lafleur failed to clear it out. Weak shot by Sims. Shut at his own line. Dropping it over for Lafleur. He missed it. Now then Nyrop Coming down on the line, in on the left side. A weak shot to the corner. The attendance tonight of 17,387. Largest crowd by approximately 200 for the playoffs in Montreal this year. There's Graham playing it on the board. Jonathan lost it. Shot. Long shot from the line into the corner. Lafleur out in front and shot. There's the shot. And it was blocked by Doak. Jonathan has Middleton on the far side. Middleton going in, and Dryden knew where he was going to go, and Dryden picked it away from number 16, Middleton.
10-10 remaining in regulation time. The Canadiens 4-0 in the lead over the Boston Bruins. A reminder that Game 6 in this series back at the Gardens in Boston Thursday night. We'll be on the air at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. There's the shots on goal totals, 26-22 in favor of the Canadiens. John Ziegler, president of the NHL. George Gross of the Toronto Sun sitting beside him tonight.
Gainey with Cashman stopping it, then it's cleared out over the line by Cheevers. Cashman starting in on the right side. A penalty. Cheevers is going up. His visitation to the penalty box has been frequent tonight. That's an oddity.
With the score, Montreal 4, Boston 0. This is Stanley Cup 78. Doug Jarvis of the Canadiens, number 21, has drawn his third minor penalty of the game. In 80 regular season games, he had only 9 minor penalties. He's the third of that tonight. One major penalty in the regular campaign.
Ratelle with Cashman, Winsick, Schmatz, and Park on the power play for the Bruins. Now here's Park, clearing it back into the corner. Cashman to the corner, right over the front to Ratelle. A shot, a big close-in, point-blank save by Dryden. Is that better than the one in Cashman?
I think it was, Dan, just because the Ratelle was more out front there, and he put it right between the legs, but Kenny was able to squeeze those big legs of his and hold on to the rebound.
Now here's Park with his big shot, and Dryden got that one, a low drive through a maze of players. And when you have the men on the point, you want them to keep that puck low, and that's what Park did. The Bruins back into their own zone. Schmatz, the hero of the fourth game, coming out. Hands it off to Park. Park into the center ice area. He lugs it in over the line. Cashman going after it in the corner. Cashman getting it back to Schmatz, working in. Puck is loose. Park couldn't get a shot. Cleared to the far side. Schmatz playing it in, and Lapointe will clear it away for Montreal. And the time left in the penalty to Jarvis, exactly 1 minute, with Cashman taking an offside pass. 8:56 left in the third period. And unlike the second and fourth games of this series, not the type that would find the fans on the edge of their seats. How are you sitting there, Chico?
I was just thinking the same thing. In all honesty, I think it's safe to say it hasn't been the most exciting game, and I think the big reason, though, is the fact that Montreal Canadiens are probably playing up to their potential. Not that they weren't in the earlier games, but they've dominated the whole game, and they've just shut off Boston completely offensively, and they've also had a number of very good scoring chances.
55 seconds left in the penalty. 4-0 Montreal. Schmatz, the long lead pass. Miller has it. Hands it off to Marcotte. Back to Miller. He puts on the brakes cleverly. Back to Schmatz. A ripping. They score! Marcotte! What a moving blast that was by Schmatz.
Power play goal for the Bruins. We talked about the lack of power play scoring since Game 1. Well, the Canadiens have 2 power play goals tonight, now 1 for the Bruins. Chico?
Again, here Schmatz is going to take the shot. It's amazing how many goals have been scored by hitting the puck out of the air. There you'll see Donnie Marcotte, again, coming off Kenny Dryden's pads. He'll knock the puck back into the net out of the air. And a good play here. Bob Miller puts the brakes on. A nice play by the rookie. Back to Schmatz, who really lets it go. And again, couldn't control the rebound, and Don Marcotte just tapped it in.
Well, I'll tell you, this is the best game that Miller has ever played against the Canadiens. I'm very impressed with him tonight.
Number 21, Don Marcotte. Assist number 11, Bobby Schmatz. And number 14, Bob Miller at 11
Now
minutes,
here's
22
Jarvis. Gainey is getting in front, and Gainey couldn't deflect it to the far open side. 4-1, Boston. With Marcotte scoring. There he goes again, poking it into the corner against Savard. They're in there. Miller, who is impressed in this game, tried to get it. Savard would like to get a whistle, but he's not going to get one this time. Here's Miller, jammed in on the boards by Jarvis. They struggle in behind Dryden. When will the whistle come? There it is.
This Stanley Cup playoff game is coming to you from the Montreal Forum. Canadiens have had only one shot on Ron Graham in this period. The Bruins have had 8 at Ken Dryden. There is the score, 7:55 left in the third period.
With that kind of offense by the Canadiens, Gerry could have gone in the goal. There's a backhand shot right on. Winsick with the backhander. Montreal leading 4-1. There's a left wing pass off Shutt. Cleared back to center. McNab, big, powerful fellow. There's the shot off Lapointe. Stoke keeping it in. Now Lapointe feeds it into the center ice area. Sims is back there after it. 7 minutes and 25 seconds left in the third period. Stoke around the net into the corner. Sims got it high into the air. It hit somebody on the Canadiens bench.
Chico, you pointed out that a third period in a game like this, as we look again at Kenny Dryden and that goal that was scored as it's deflected out of the air by Marcotte, a period like this really can reflect 2 nights from now. But really, I don't think while the Bruins have had all the shots, or most of them, it really hasn't worked out too severely that way, would you say?
No, that's right. You know, we talked about momentum earlier and switching and that, and Montreal's had it entirely tonight. Now Boston has to get a little bit of spark going for that game Thursday.
Lapointe is walking off a leg injury. Behind the Canadiens bench, here's Shutt. A good move by Shutt. Backhand shot. And I don't think Gerry would have stopped that, but Graham did.
Speaking of that, the folks watching the television probably didn't notice it, but as the Zamboni came out to resurface the ice, it almost appeared that Don Cherry was going to go down and take a few shots, because he went out on the ice, talked to 4 or 5 of his players skating out there, and they stayed out the longest I've ever seen a team skate around between periods, and I don't know what that was all about, but I'm sure Cherry will have a great explanation.
Right in front of the net, and it's blocked. Milbury has it. Aren't the officials supposed to stay on the ice until the players have gone to the dressing room?
That's right. That's the
He
rule.
may have been taking advantage of that. He's a Sharpie. Robinson shooting it down. Here's Lafleur going after, going right in on goal. Lafleur. He fired it. Blocked on the short side. Lafleur upended by Miller. Miller is going to get a penalty, number 14 for hooking.
Yeah, we've got an injured Bruin back in front of the net, Dennis O'Brien. As a member of the Bruins training staff comes out, Brad Park is there. Dan Kelly sitting down to our right just pointed out a moment ago that Brad Park hasn't played that much in this third period. He was out there for the big argument earlier on, and that was it. And then another Bruin that hasn't seen much action is Greg Shepard. O'Brien is down, and I didn't see what happened there. We look again at the Lafleur play. Chico, he's hanging on to the puck a lot. He's coming in and not shooting. He did this the other night in Boston, and this time he tried again to swing wide. And Graham went right with the play, made a good play. Here it is.
Yeah, Lafleur goes so well laterally, and here you'll see him go right across, but Ronnie Graham makes an excellent save, and I think that's a sign that Guy Lafleur, although he scored that big goal in the overtime the other night and got one on a close-in shot in Boston, he seems to be fighting the puck a little bit. He doesn't seem to be as confident as Guy Lafleur usually is, and I think when you're not as confident, you tend to hold on to it and try and deke more than you do shoot. And the thing is, though, 1 goal and he could explode. Here it is again. He gets it up here, but an excellent save by Ronnie Graham coming in cold.
Watch O'Brien in front of the net. Oh, he was clipped by Graham's stick.
There he is on the bench. He appears okay.
Canadiens on the power play with Miller off for hooking. And Scotty Bowman has Lafleur. Shot. Lapointe, Lemaire, and Robinson, the power play alignment. It's dumped into the corner by Lafleur. Hurrying in a shot to the other side. Robinson may get it at the point. He does. Into Lemaire. He's bumping there. It's gloved ahead. Canadians trying to keep it in. And Graham gets it ahead to Marcotte. Puck is back into the center ice area. 5 minutes and 55 seconds left in the third period. A good head fake by Lafleur. He has to backtrack to get more skating room. Those intricate maneuvers by Lafleur on display. Now Robinson over on the right side, and LaRouche winding up with a shot. He stopped. He heard the whistle for the offside.
Well, there's Pierre LaRouche. He was a goal tonight. He has 2 playoff goals, scored one in one of the 3 games in which he played against the Detroit Red Wings. And at the Bruins bench now, it's O'Brien being repaired as a result of that accident when he collided with his own man, goaltender Graham, and was clipped in the head. Yeah, Chico knows how Gerry feels. Just a sigh there. Sometimes it's a long night, even on the bench, eh, Chico?
That's for sure. And they're resting Gerry, and as we talk, Don Gerry seems to be benching resting Park, although he's out there now, and Shepard. And like I said, I think it's a good move giving Gerry that well-deserved rest.
1 minute and 5 seconds left in the Boston penalty. Forechecking Marcotte. Skating around to get into position. The Canadians and Robinson, who loves to speed down on that right side. He's over the line. LaRouche in for Robinson. Schmutz gets it, and he shoots it over Savard's head back down into Montreal territory. Now then Savard ahead to Cournoyer. Gathering speed with LaRouche. Cournoyer still with it. He got it off the skate. And a penalty for slashing.
That was a good call.
Of the Boston Bruins going off for slashing.
Live from the Montreal Forum, the Stanley Cup playoffs. With 5 minutes left in the third period, Mike Milbury makes his 4th trip to the penalty box as he lays a 2-hander on Yvan Cournoyer. Both American college graduates, Mike Milbury from Colgate and Miller from New Hampshire.
Big opportunity for the Canadians to add to their total. It's kept in by Robinson over to Lapointe. Lapointe back to Robinson. Robinson takes a look. Here's LaRouche. LaRouche fakes it, still fakes it. He passed it into the slot, and Shepard has it. The Canadians with a 2-man advantage for another 6 seconds. They roll it into the Boston zone. Lambert in after Graham. Back on the ice comes Miller. Shepard has it. And Shepard coming out with Miller coming up on the left side. Dryden cleared it away from Miller. Now Lapointe turning with Cournoyer. LaRouche and shot dashing in left side. A skate save by Graham. The Bruins shooting it out. Robinson tumbles over the puck. Here's a pass over to Shepard. Shepard putting on the brakes. Passes it. It's cleared out on the left side. Here's Chuck. He has Lemaire with him. And Sims got over there to thwart a pass and send it for Lemaire. Now it's back into the center ice area. Shepard being hounded by Shutt. Miller at the other side. 40 seconds left in Milbury's penalty. Miller got by Lemaire. He's just ragging it along the boards. Canadians into the center ice area. Shutt loses it. Here's Jonathan. Bruins doing an excellent job here. You would think they had the odd man advantage. Canadians back in their own zone. Here's Robinson, a long pass for Lafleur. Lafleur tied up by Rick Smith. Lafleur from the corner. Dipsy-doodling. Back it comes, and it's out over the line. 3 minutes and 5 seconds left. They shoot it in. Now Bowman is infuriated. What's all that about?
Jonathan and Lafleur. That's the first time I've seen Bowman up on the bench. Whatever Jonathan did to Lafleur is what has upset him.
Now Gainey. Back to Savard. They're playing 6 aside. Gainey going in, firing it. And Graham came up. cut down that angle. Good move. There's O'Brien over the line, off Ken Dryden, in among the spectators. Graham came out very well on that last shot by the Canadiens.
Yeah, he's challenging the shooters, Danny, and I think, you know, secret for him is now you never know what could happen. You got a big game coming up. Gerry could get injured in the warm-up or so forth, so he's got to be ready. You never know. There's a good toe save on Steve Shutt a little bit earlier, and then he came up with another fine save on Bob Gainey. And here you'll see this thing with, ooh, an elbow, and Lafleur give one back, and that's what caused that little rhubarb earlier.
Gainey with O'Brien getting a piece of the Canadiens' left winger. They skirmish gently just inside the Boston line, 2:27 left in the third period, 4-1. This game will not be categorized among your Stanley Cup substantial souvenirs. It's been just an ordinary hockey game from the point of view of excitement. Now Savard behind the net, Ratelle after him. Along the boards, O'Brien hops on it, takes the shot. Where is it? Right in front of the net. And Ratelle, right at the lip of the crease, was stopped by Dryden. Post call to the Bruins. Trying desperately to get that second goal, 1 minute and 55 seconds left. Montreal 4, Boston 1. There's a pass on the right side. That could be an icing infraction against Boston.
We were talking about Don Cherry going onto the ice and keeping his players out there in between the second and third period. The rule states the referee shall remain on the ice at the conclusion of each period until all players have proceeded to their dressing rooms. Now, I'm sure Don Cherry had a few choice words to say to the referee at the end of the second period, but he left the ice. And so now I'm sure Don Cherry is going to protest about the fact the referee didn't stay on. There you see Kenny Dryden going down, making a good save on a rebound shot, and he's played real well tonight. He's really rebounded back well after 2 losses, I think.
His toughest chances have been in this third period. Cashman very early in the period. Now the Canadiens themselves cleared it inadvertently out over the line. Lapointe ahead to Mondeau, back to Lapointe. Lapointe gets some skating room into the center ice area. Bounces it into the corner. On the move is Risebrough. Graham. He moved out. Jonathan. He has Wensick on the left side. It's propelled in over the Canadiens line. Risebrough ahead to center. Mondeau, the pass. Miller got it back in over the line. Milbury back. Goes to Milbury on the right side. Jonathan bumps. The little fella carries on. He bumps again with Robinson. He is a sturdy individual, number 17, Jonathan. Canadiens rolling it down into Boston territory. 45 seconds left in the third period. 4-1 for Montreal. Here's Miller after it. Miller at the line. The pass is blocked. Cournoyer couldn't get it. LaRouche over to Cournoyer. Back pass into the corner. LaRouche, he scored a big goal for the Canadiens. Their third goal. He's into the corner area along with Miller. Risebrough jammed by Jonathan. Could have something here. Robinson has a hold of Milbury. Now Wensick is pounding. Is that Tremblay?
Yes, it is.
Quarters are very close. I don't know how telling his right hands were to the side of Tremblay's head.
No, as we remember, this set up with Robinson.
There's Tremblay going.
There they go at it again.
This may be a dress rehearsal for the 6th game. If they keep this up, it'll be undress rehearsal. Pulling,
Well,
sweaters.
There's Lapointe and Miller now going after each other. Oh. And this has turned into a real grudge series. It really has. The thing the other night, and they're really wailing away. And there's
Lapointe got Miller with a vicious right, knocked him to the ice. But before that, Miller scored, and there, the undress part of it coming. Lapointe's jersey is being pulled over his head. Miller has the point against the board, and the point now has been separated from his jersey.
In a situation like this, Danny, there's too bad there's not a couple officials draft that can just go out in the ice and give those guys a hand.
There's Tremblay. He got a right hand free, and he hit Winsick. Now Winsick with his left hand, two of them, and the right hand by Tremblay. They bounced each other into the board. Milbury still has Robinson pinned in there. And out in front of the net, we have Jonathan and Risebrow.
And we know Winsick's unlikely to give up. If we remember the other night, Winsick and Lupien went at it almost till for about 2 minutes, till finally the referees had everything else restored. Then they were able to separate them. But Winsick just doesn't seem to know when to quit. And Tremblay at the same time, he's still throwing them. And now Dave Newell finally gets them separated. And hopefully they're both so tired this will all end and we'll play out the last 21 seconds.
Well, the ice is littered as usual with gloves and sticks, and the biggest problem is to sort the sticks and gloves out and give them to the proper recipient. That came with 21 seconds left, so it's the battle of 21, period 3. Tremblay, he'll go to the dressing room. So the score, incidentally, it's still a hockey game with 21 seconds left. 4-1, Montreal leading Boston.
Sure sets up that next game, doesn't it, though, Dan? You just don't know what to expect now. It's been rather a quiet series. Of course, we had the big fight in the first period the other night in Boston, but other than that, the first 3 games were rather quiet. There's Tremblay making his way into the dressing room. Very slowly, I might add. He's not quite ready. He's waiting for the hand, which he's now finally receiving, and takes his bow, and now he's...
There's a fellow who knows something about battling. Lupien.
Oh, the gesture there is, remember when Lupien and Winsick went at it the other night after the fight. Winsick stood up and gave him the old "I'm the winner" sign, and now Lupien is giving him the raspberries there.
So Winsick is standing at the gate leading to the Bruins bench. And I think the player who just disappeared, was that Jonathan?
Correct. Jonathan's now in the dressing room, as is Mario Tremblay.
This has been a long, drawn-out night. It's now 11:04. I don't know how accurate that is, Eastern Daylight Time, and the game get underway. Oh, I would say about 8:10, so we are 6 minutes approximately away from a 3-hour hockey game, and that's too long for a hockey game. It means something is dragging.
Well, it is too long when there's not much excitement, and it's, to put it bluntly, a boring game, which for the most part it has been, and they've really turned to the chippiness, which, like I say, we didn't see in the first 4 games, and there's the penalties.
The penalties to Boston, number 18.
And we're going to have a look at the start of this again.
Number 17, Stan
Here we just finished up, if you remember, where Robinson has just given 2 solid checks to Stan Jonathan. Now here comes the play, and Larry Robinson fires the puck up. The puck's going to go into the Boston end. And again, it looks like it's going to be a harmless play. The players are just sort of gliding into the play here. Larry and Stan Jonathan kind of giving each other the stick. I guess we're not going to see it. It's just as well. It wasn't nothing too exciting, and with 21 seconds left, it's just too bad that these things have to happen just because it doesn't really prove anything, and I don't think it's going to affect what happens Thursday night.
No, actually not. After all, a team that's fighting to stay alive in the Stanley Cup Final Series, they're not going to go out there and start belting people. I mean, penalties can just kill you. And I expect to see a return to just great hockey on Thursday night.
I suspect so. I'm sure Don Cherry and the Bruins are going to cry about the officiating tonight, but looking at it unbiasedly, I think Dave Newell has called a pretty good game. What's happened is Montreal has just come out flying. Boston hasn't been able to skate with them from the
outset, although they had a good initial attack, but once Montreal scored, then they just started to fly, and Boston had to hook and grab and interfere, the type of things that you see when you try and slow down a team. And in all fairness, I think the penalties were pretty good. And the problem was that Boston was intimidated by the penalties they got. There was that one instance where instead of Boston having the power play when it was 3-0, remember they took 2 foolish penalties, and Montreal had the power play. And, you know, that was still in the second period when they had a chance. And like you say, I think Boston's going to have to realize that this game is past, and now they're going to have to play hockey.
As you say, Boston, I thought Boston looked tremendously impressive the first 89 minutes of the hockey game. They're out shooting Montreal 8-2, but that Robinson goal seems to turn it around.
Yep.
So now play has resumed with 18 seconds left. Cournoyer on the move. Puck into the center ice area. Here's McNab cutting it on the right side on the backhand. He couldn't get much on that one. Into the corner. Savard has it. The countdown has started, and the game is over. What were these penalties? Have we got time to give them? Tremblay, Lapointe, Drysdale 5 minutes for fighting, Winstig, Miller, and Jonathan 5 minutes for fighting. So the hockey game has ended, and the Canadiens have taken a 3-2 lead in games with the 6th game on Thursday night. And I promise you, Chico, you will not hear there is no tomorrow until Thursday night.
Isn't that the truth?
And that will be used somewhere along the line.